Okay, Schwalbe Alberts and why you might be using them incorrectly. I just got a set of these. Went and rode at Shepherd Mountain Bike Park today, which is some of the rockiest, most tire killing, wheel killing trails in the entire world. If you don't believe me, look up a video. There's a guy who does bike park tier list. I forgot his name. He's been all over the world, but he raced the big mountain enduro at Shepherd Mountain, and just listen to how he talks about that place compared to literally anywhere else. Anyway, I got these. These are 2.5, both in the gravity casing ultra soft compound, and I was really excited to get them because according to Schwalbe, one of the reasons they started developing these tires, the impetus kind of came from the Commensal downhill team, and they wanted a tire that they could run without inserts safely. And so that was the idea behind these, is to make a thick casing that's durable, but is so supple that you can run a lot more air pressure, because ultimately air pressure is a lot more of where your bottom out against the rim support comes from, way more than the sidewall. You're going to overcome that sidewall. I don't care what you got. It's going to overcome the sidewall a lot faster. So first thing, I mean, by this point, you probably have heard all about this radial casing tech, so I'm not going to talk about that anymore. What I am going to talk about is, I think people are using them, I don't want to say, I guess I could say incorrectly. You know, I guess if you don't have any problems and you're not destroying wheels or rims, do whatever you want if it feels good. But I got these tires because I wanted to save weight. These tires are listed as 1,320 grams, which compared to my last downhill tire, which was the Vittoria Mostro, or even like the Maxxis Asegi, this should be a bit lighter by about 100 grams at least. Plus, I had the Vittoria Enduro insert in the front and the downhill insert in the rear. I have no inserts in here now because, according to Schwalbe, you know, you should be able to run 4, 5, even 6 psi more on these tires than to a comparable use case tire of another brand. So that's what I did today. I usually at Shepherd Mountain, I run 30 psi rear with an insert and a downhill tire, and 23 or 24 up front with an insert in a downhill tire. Today, I went no inserts. I put 33 psi in the rear to start my day, put 28 in the front. I climbed Coolio's climb and did a lap. The rear, to me, felt maybe a little better than 30 psi with an insert in my other tire, even at 33. And I didn't even mess with it all day. I'm going to try 32 in the future, or places that aren't quite as gnarly. The front felt kind of harsh. So I got back to my truck, I checked it. It had gone up to 29 psi just as temperatures rose. I ended up lowering that to 27, and that felt pretty good. I think I could get away with 26 on the front, no problem. But I noticed climbing, these tires roll fast. Now, this is going to contradict what a lot of other YouTubers say, because I've heard other YouTubers say, oh, they're kind of draggy because you have all that extra contact. Well, that's because they're running either the same pressure they normally run, or maybe they're running 1 or 2 psi more. But if you do that, it's going to be draggy, even though it'll feel nice, because it is putting a lot more squish and contact patch down on the ground. And there is a point where pressures get too low that your roll speed does decrease. And I think that's what people were doing, because I found today I was rolling fast. I'm basically rolling high PSI compared to other tires, but without as many of the drawbacks. So a couple things about these tires. One, it's no, like, what they say about how they work is no BS. Those are legit claims. I mean, 27 psi in the front If I were to run 27 psi in the front of the tires I had before, it would have felt like a brick insert inside of them, you know, just wooden. 27 psi, like I said, I might try 26 sometime, was plenty. It was plenty supportive. I never felt any sidewall wiggles at all, front or back. I was worried about that. Another thing, I think I could go down to 32 psi in the rear. I kept it at 33 because Shepherd, you rock strike, you hit stuff hard. But I came up short on kind of a step down rock double today and slammed the back wheel onto the top of a rock, and it did not bottom against the rim. And I was able to carry on just fine. No problem. Now, the tire itself, you may have heard that these run narrow. They definitely do. I got the 2.5, and visually, they obviously do not look as wide as the 2.4 Vittorias I had. I mean, they were not. I had put it on the back first and still had the other on the front. And to the naked eye, it seemed obvious. This seemed slightly narrower, or at least not any wider. Maybe it is slightly more round. The profile is more round, but it's not crazy round. I mean, you can still get to the side knobs and engage them. It's not too extreme. The side knobs, though, are not nearly as big as the Vittoria side knobs I'm used to, that stick up probably 2 millimeters more. And I think in looser, deeper spots where it was a little silty, these maybe weren't grabbing as well. But on the rock, going down trails like Powder Keg, which is a lot of rock, I felt totally comfy on these. Like, no slippage. The knobs on this are definitely not as big as like a DHR2, a WTB Judge, which, I mean, whose are. They are a little more tightly spaced. So braking traction on the Alberts, not as strong. Maybe it would be if I had a lot less tire pressure, but I just think in this use case for enduro, the big advantage you can have is roll speed and the ability to shave weight, take the inserts out, but still have enough lateral support and air pressure resistance against bottoming against the rim. But that first bit that you need the tire to flex, you know, the first half of the flex, it just breaks into that a lot easier than other tires. So when people say, they're sluggish, I'm telling you, that's because they're not running them correctly. They're trying to run them with the same PSI and get all that suppleness, but on an enduro bike or a downhill bike, I really don't think that's the point. I think you're giving away some advantages that it has, primarily in, like I've been saying over and over, you can get a lot more roll speed out of these because you can run those higher pressures, but you're not pinging off the rocks. It's still soaking them up. Here's how I would describe it. Ideally, on other tires with an insert at somewhere like Shepherd, or at easier trails that weren't as gnarly, I'd run 28 psi rear, 23 front, and that 28 psi rear felt really nice, right? But I couldn't get away with it at Shepherd, but I still had to pack the extra weight of the insert. With these at 32 or 33 psi, I'm dropping. I'm probably 200 grams less per wheel with these tires than I was before. I've got a better feel at 32 and 33 psi in bump absorption. I've got all the rim protection I need from the air, and the roll speed's higher. Now, in deeper conditions, would these be as good? I don't know. The knobs aren't super deep, but they're not little either. In the Midwest, I think they're great. In the Midwest, you don't need a Magic Mary because we don't have dirt to dig into. You don't need a tire that's made for loose conditions. So like the Continental Argotol, or even the new High Roller 3. Like, we just don't have soil. We don't have loam to dig into. And if we do, it's because the trail's been put in and it's brand new, and give it a month and it's going to be eroded down to the rock. So anyway, the Alberts are legit. I can't wait to really get my pressures dialed in and experiment more with them. But on a first ride and pressure, I mean, I was going absolutely just as fast basically immediately, first run on these, as I was on race day. And I will say, the faster I rode, my first run, even with the front tire, was too high. I mean, it got up to 29 PSI. My hands were just as, like, they weren't being rattled any more than normal. I just felt like it could have been better, and it was. And it did feel better the faster I went. The harder I hit things, the more it gave compared to other tires. So, yeah, I will I will definitely be buying this casing again. You know, a slightly more open tread pattern, not a full-blown something like a Magic Mary, but something with a little more openness that still rolls good. Might be good for the front, just to clear the channel between the side knobs, but I'm not going to cut these down like the World Cup people did. I'm going to give it a little more time to learn to trust it, but overall, they're a good buy.